Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Andrea Giraldo, and welcome to another edition of Meetings of the Mind, brought to you by the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in partnership with BronxNet. This show was created in direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic as a way to highlight the work of our members and partners, as well as to understand the resources they have to help our community in those difficult times. Today's guest is the Executive Director of Crescent Consulting Associates, Inc., and he is one of New York's leading advocates for minority and women business enterprises, MWBEs, and since 2001 has been instrumental in assisting diverse firms obtain over $1 billion in contract awards. He joins us to shed light on the services offered by Crescent Consulting Associates and much more. Please welcome to the show Mr. Anthony Peterson. Hello, Anthony.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. So let's jump right into this. Can you share with our viewers how long have you been in your position with Crescent Consulting Associates, and what led you to work for this organization?
Sure. I've been with Crescent Consulting Associates for 4.5 years. I started in May of 2019. Previously, I was the Diversity Director or Director of Diversity Programs for Battery Park City Authority, a New York State agencies. And what led me was, for the work I was doing at Battery Park City, assisted minority woman-owned firms, later on became service-disabled veterans as far as local businesses, small businesses. And, you know, Battery Park City was great to me. I loved it. We built 92 acres in Lower Manhattan across from the original World Trade Center. And, you know, I just felt I could do much more. So Crescent Consultant, you know, doing work basically in the tri-state area, as well as Florida, Virginia, DC, Philadelphia. I just felt like I could get my hands into more projects and help more firms, diverse firms.
Excellent, excellent. And exactly what is Crescent Consulting Associates, and what service do you offer your clients?
Crescent Consulting is a diversity consulting group, and what we do is we assist our constituents with diversity inclusion programs, where we create programs, we monitor them, we help with compliance, integrity monitoring services. We also have a workforce division, and what that entails is the actual employees that are working on the projects that we oversee. For example, you know, construction trades. So we work with all the different union groups. We also work with open shop companies. We work in the legal fields, financial services, and we just assist as far as ensuring that whether it's minorities, women, any creed, race, there's
everyone.
There's equal opportunity for everyone.
Is there anything you specialize in that different peoples?
Yeah, in what we do, I think we specialize obviously in compliance and insurance, that people adhere to all the goals that might be set forth in a contract.
But always focused in that diversity.
Always focused on diversity, correct.
Excellent, excellent. So the organization has handled several projects, ranging from projects under 1 million to over 2 billion, probably even more at this point, and has successfully provided their services to each client. What are some of the more notable projects that you've worked on or are currently involved in?
Sure. Well, right now, currently working on the JFK redevelopment project. It's a $20 billion project, so we do have to update our literature.
So JFK, the airport.
The airport.
Just to clarify for everyone.
John F. Kennedy Airport in Queens. We're overseeing compliance and working with the Port Authority on that project. We're also working at Columbia University. We're working with other groups throughout the city, New York City, as far as New Jersey, where we're helping Alstom Group with the air trains, both at Newark Airport and at Kennedy Airport. We're working with ABM Aviation. We're also working with tons of general contractors, legal firms, financial firms within the tri-state area, where we help them find MWBEs, minority women-owned businesses, service-disabled veterans, local businesses, small business groups. We're also helping them with procurement as far as buying out projects and buying out services. We help them with outreach. And then, of course, as I said before, we help them with the actual workforce, finding minority workers, women, so on and so on.
But is there any particular industry that you like to focus on? Is it mainly construction?
I would say,
or just happens to be JFK one of the largest projects you're dealing with?
I would say construction is the biggest, because
Yeah.
that's where the money's at, right?
Yes.
The construction projects are billions of dollars all across the country. So that's where the most of the opportunities are. But obviously, we can work with a graphic designer. IT is a big, in
Yeah.
any industry you work in,
Yeah.
is IT. So,
Yeah.
we work with everybody, and construction
any
is just the biggest.
project in particular in Manhattan or in the Bronx?
Well, in the Bronx coming up, there's some projects. There's the jail programs that are about to, they're redeveloping some jails throughout the 5 boroughs. So that's, hopefully we'll get on that project. But there's some others
Like
upcoming.
multiple jails? Or?
Multiple
Oh,
jails
wow.
throughout
Okay.
the city, yes. In each borough is supposed to be one in each borough, and we hope to be on those projects. Willis Points in Queens we're working on. In the Bronx, tons of projects. I wish I could name them all, but there's a lot of projects that we're overseeing.
Nice, nice, nice. Can you tell us more about what an MWBE is? Because a lot of our viewers may not be in this arena, so they don't understand. And why are these businesses so important to you and Crescent Consulting? What is behind obtaining that?
Sure. So first of all, a minority woman-owned business enterprise, MWBE, is a minority woman-owned firm, company. Your local store, your local bodega, as we would say, where I grew up in the Bronx and Washington Heights. There's local electrical companies,
Service
plumbing.
providers,
Anybody that's a minority that owns, whether it's African American, Hispanic, Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, Native American, women, then service disabled veterans that own firms, those are all that we assist. And what's important about it is that's our community. Our community is built on these businesses, the small businesses, and that's what helps the nation grow, to me. So helping those was, for me, a no-brainer to try to help them get into public contracts, but also privately funded projects that really drive our nation. So that's big for me.
Yeah. So MWBs usually obtain a certificate.
Well, yes.
Are you involved in that portion
Correct.
of it within the consulting?
Yes. So we assist in helping them get certified. There's all different organizations that offer certification. New York State, which is Empire State Development, obviously New York City and their small business services, Port Authority, MTA, DASNY, New York School Construction, Weebeck. I mean, it's so many. New Jersey Transit.
Yes. And do you usually recommend one person to obtain one over the other, or is it tailored to where they want to go?
I think it's a little bit of tailored to where they want to go. To me, I advise to get certified in everything and anything.
Okay.
Wherever you see yourself getting work, it's very important. Because without that certification, you can be a diverse firm, and private entities would hire you because you're a diverse firm. But if you want to do public works, you need that certification in order for them to take credit.
So it's not a matter of people just coming up and saying, I'm a diverse firm.
Correct.
They need to go get that certificate.
They need to go get that certificate, and we would point them in the right direction.
Okay. And what is the length of process or time for someone to obtain that?
Every organization is different. I will say that New York State, it's a delay right now, but anywhere between 6 months and 18 months. New York City's 3 to 6 months. Port Authority 3 to 6 months. MTA same.
Same. Okay. Are there any other public institutions? Because you mentioned MTA, right? Which is part of the city, but they have their own certification then.
Correct. Well, they're part of the DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Group. So they do it federally because they're federally funded. So that's why their certification comes in. Otherwise, they use New York State for minority and women-owned.
So people should obtain MWBE and DBE.
And DBE.
And could you just repeat again what these letters stand for?
Of course.
For the audience?
MWBE is Minority Woman Business Enterprise, and DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, which
And
is
what is considered DBE
what
again?
DBE is for federally funded programs,
Okay.
where obviously the federal government is putting dollars for something. Could be for construction, could be for the transit system, it could be for things like that, IT structured things. And DBE is the certification you would need to obtain credit in any of these.
And who certifies, because you just explained to us MWBE entities that certify that.
Right.
Who certifies DBE, the
Well,
disadvantage?
Any agency that deals with federal dollars, MTA, New York State Department of Transit, New York City Department of Transit. So anyone, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So anyone that deals with federally funded projects.
Okay. It's a lot of information,
It's a
for
lot.
sure. And it's, again, 2 different certifications, really depending on where you're going to and what you're offering, which will tell you, and Crescent will help you identify what is more appropriate for you. Now, can you tell us now a little bit about your client contract compliance review process with these diversity firms?
Every firm goes through a vetting process, and we want to know what size projects you can do, sort of your assurances that you hold. Those things will help us understand what projects we can put you on, or we can assist getting you on. Obviously, we're kind of the middleman that's helping you with the larger firms. We work with general contractors, construction managers, legal firms, financial, depending on the type of work you do. So knowing a bit about what you do, what's the largest contract you can hold, things like that would help us identify opportunities for you. And that's the key word. We can't guarantee the actual work, but we can guarantee the opportunities across all the projects that we work on.
So you'll open the door.
We will definitely
And
open the door.
level the playing field for
Yes.
people to have a chance.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And
excellent.
help with business development. It might be something where, we know a lot of firms in the industry that can build the Empire State Building, for example, but, getting through all the paperwork or holding payroll.
All
for,
that red tape.
Of course. Holding payroll for
Yes.
2 months, 3
Yes.
months, because sometimes to get started, you need to put in your requisitions, and sometimes something's not right and you have to redo it. It could take you 60 days to get paid, sometimes 90 in the beginning of a project. Once
Yeah.
you get paid, then every 30 days in the cycle, you're getting paid. But obviously, to get them started, they need funding. So,
Yeah.
we work with all of those firms out there. New York State has a great lending program for jobs like that, or for contracts where they can, it's pretty much fully guaranteed loans. So then there's banks that'll be
But
there.
for DBE, federally funded projects, or all projects?
For all projects. It's
MWBE
mostly for MWBEs in New York State.
in New York City. And that's
Correct.
that's very valuable, because what happens a lot of times, I've noticed, smaller firms want to break in, right? But you always have that barrier where you may get a contract for, I don't know, let's say $100,000, but then you don't have the money to fund it because
Correct.
it's your first big contract.
Correct.
And you help with that, which is
And
amazing.
we help with that. We'll point them in the right direction. Any kind of business development, insurance bonding programs, capital
I was just going
programs.
to ask you about bonding. That was my
Yeah.
follow-up question. So tell us about bonding.
Well, look, there's projects that bonding is required. And what that means is, they want to ensure that this can get built and it's going to last and things like that. So, you have to be bondable. And depending on the size that you can get, we have groups that work with us that will help you become bondable, as we would say in the industry. $1 million project, or you have $1 million in bonds, and you might be doing a project for $750,000, and you can't, so we're working with the groups that are going to assist you in obtaining all of the proper insurance and bonding needed for all projects.
So when does a company reach a level in a contract, or what type of projects, or is it money-wise? Is it what's the scope for someone to start thinking about bonding?
Well, I think money-wise is number one, obviously, but I always look at the risk.
Okay.
So if you're building a bridge, whether pedestrian or, for cars, you probably have to bond that project.
So we're talking more mega projects.
I would say more mega, but it really, the size doesn't matter. If you're hanging a sign over a roadway and there's any kind of risk that that sign may fall on someone, car, anything, and do damage,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be bondable.
Or the branch of a tree.
Exactly.
Which we've seen a couple here in the city. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Every time we have a big storm, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. And what types of businesses or industries do you currently consult with or have consulted that should get into the process of, reaching out to you and getting more involved?
Sure. Well, look, number one is going to be construction firms, right? That's what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
Where
The bridges.
Yeah, where the money is, because they're so large. But honestly, we've worked with everyone. IT firms, there's so much work in, information and technology. There is graphic designers that we work with and assist them. We purchase uniforms, not just for ourselves, but obviously projects that we work on. We work with ABM Aviation. They run a shuttle program. They also purchase a lot of uniforms. So down to temp agencies where someone needs a vacation for 2 or 3 weeks and a temp agency hires, a receptionist. We work with and assist those firms in finding work. So I like to say yes, construction, if you work in the construction industry, it's great. You own an electrical firm, whatever, we can assist you as far as getting you opportunities. But if you do something else, administrative services, we do back-end office support, insurances, legal firms we have assisted, financial firms we have assisted. The list can, anything and anything. I would not put it past anything. Now think of it this way. If you want public works, you have to think about what the government is buying or purchasing. And that will kind of give you an idea. So, and I say that because you might own a local barbershop and the government is not, purchasing haircuts every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, we may be working with someone in the film industry that may need on-site, barber. Who knows? I'm just throwing that out there because it really depends on where the opportunities are. But obviously anything administrative. And I bring that point up because catering is a big
Oh, I could imagine.
catering. So if you own a restaurant or you do catering, that's something that there are opportunities. Do they come along every day? They don't come along every day, but they are there.
But the important thing is to be in your database.
Of course.
From when they come in.
Yes.
And you mentioned construction. And construction, a lot of times people think of it as, the ones that build. But I personally, am aware there's a lot around construction.
Yeah.
So if you could just elaborate on those other moving parts within construction.
Well, look, supplies. Construction, they need supplies, safety supplies, the hard hats, the vests that they wear in construction sites. Those are always huge. IT, like again, everyone thinks IT, information technology, your computers, but every construction site, they set up Wi-Fi. They set up phones. They set up, their computers, printing, all of this stuff. So all of that, we've gotten firms that sell office supplies on construction sites because what they do is they provide the ink for the printers, copy machines, all of those things. The paper that's actually, used for copy machines, the pens, the pads. Architects, obviously anybody in the architectural design industry.
Plumbers.
The list is huge.
Yes.
For foundation, core, painters, furnitures, dealers, retailers.
Okay.
We can go on. Water for the sites, like I'm drinking.
Bottles of water.
Bottles of water.
Yeah. And what about startups? Where do startup companies land within Crescent?
Well, look, startup companies, we would assist them a little bit more. It'd be a little more hands approach.
Okay. Because and just to make our viewers aware that in order for you to obtain the certificates we spoke about earlier, people need to be in business for a certain period of time.
Correct.
So that might be a limitation. So would Crescent be able to work with them, or is there anything they can do?
Of course. Well, number one, once you have a business, you can work with anyone at any time. As far as certification, everyone has different requirements. Minority needs to own the business more than, 51% of the business and actually do the work. Same as far as women or service disabled or anything else. As far as startups, typically for certification, it's 1 year. You have to be in business for 1 year. Actual business, having contracts, purchase orders, things like that.
Yeah, not only incorporated, but
Not only
actually
incorporated.
functioning.
Yeah, could be a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you have to be in business, and I would say, you'd have to produce financial records, things like that, produce the contracts or purchase orders that you're working in or on. So all of those for startup to get certified.
Excellent, excellent. So how many locations does Crescent Consulting have? Where are your offices?
Currently, we have 4 locations. We have our main office, which is really our financial office, up in Peekskill, New York. We have 2 locations in Manhattan, one in Harlem and one down in the Wall Street area. And then I like to call our true headquarters is in Queens right now, where I work out of in Jamaica, Queens, where we do the majority of our projects. So kind of, I like to say it's division work. Our compliance integrity monitoring services is run out of Queens, where we have in Harlem, more of our workforce is run out of there, but we have a big workforce division in Queens. And then Manhattan, obviously, was the first office, which, grew.
The big one.
It was the big one, not in size, but it was where it started.
Yeah, yeah. And just so people that are not aware, Peekskill in Westchester, New York.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, Anthony, we also like to talk on the show about a little bit of your personal background.
Sure.
So those viewers that are out there thinking that, I want to do what he does, help people get out there. How did you come to Crescent? Was there any sort of special education that you obtained? Any special training?
Yes,
What
yes,
path
and
brought
yes.
you here?
Yes. Well, the path that brought me here is I always like to tell this story because I actually have an accounting background, so I'm really good with numbers.
Okay.
But what
That
brought,
helps.
Yeah, that helps. But what brought me here was, my love for people and just dealing with people in general.
Uh-huh.
I started and I would run a recreational program down in Battery Park City. At the time, they offered me a job to run a community center. They couldn't meet my salary demands. So they had this other part-time job of what we would call back in the days in 2001 of counting heads. What that meant is you would go on a construction site and you would oversee the workforce and kind of see who was working, because people would put in what we would call prevailing wages. This is who I'm paying on the job. And we will look and there'll be, for example, Stanley Rodriguez. And most people will hear the name Rodriguez and think the person has an Hispanic background. But that wasn't always the case. So we would go on site and ensure that minorities were working on the job. That grew into minority-owned businesses. But for me, when I started, there was a project that I oversaw at the time, and it was on a part-time basis. And the project was a $123 million budget with a 20% goal for minority and women-owned businesses. And out of that 20% had to go to minority and women-owned businesses. My first project, I hit 33%, which was over 40-something million dollars in that project. The reason I thought it was easy is because I was helping people like me, people of my color, people of my descent, women. And I just love the fact that we were able to help them and seeing the excitement on their face if they obtained a contract.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had to do the work and they had to do a good job so they could get hired again. But that was the start of it, and that really helped me grow that.
Get into this. So your parting words would be exposure
My parting words, yes.
to the career, education
Education,
for
definitely.
those that are looking to pursue a similar career.
Oh, if they're looking to do what I do, yes, I would say. But if you're looking to own a business, you have to do your homework as well.
Yes.
A phrase that I like to use that I heard a long time ago you own a business, reinvest in the business, right? So the way I was taught a long time ago was people would say, rent your car, own your home. And the reason they would say that is because your home, when you own it, it increases in value. If you own your car depreciates. And that was so big to me because at first I was, young. As you're young, you want to own your own car. I got to own. I don't want monthly payments. And then I realized that, no, I want to own my home.
Your asset.
Because that's growing. Where, renting a car, you're losing money regardless.
Yeah.
So just those are the things, but obviously
Excellent.
take that into business. Own your business. Reinvest in your business.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
Try to grow. Do your homework. On public contracts, there's a lot of tools out there that help you. FOIL, which is the Freedom of Information Act. You can get a lot of information and see what others are charging. So if you have, you do uniforms, and you can see what, the police department paid for their uniforms. So when you're going to sell, you know where the price might have to be. Things like that. There's so much out there that you can do to learn. You can sit in workshops.
Peeking under the hood there.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Well,
Hey,
that's very
use
interesting.
whatever's there for you.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. And lastly, how can people get a hold of you and or Crescent Consulting?
Well, obviously you can
Not
find
show
us.
up at your house.
Yes, no. You can show up at my office at any time. But you can obviously find us, just Google Crescent Consulting Associates. But you can reach me by email, Peterson, A as in Apple, Peterson, Peterson, at crescentconsult.com. Crescent like the moon, CRESCENT, consult, CONSULT.com. I always say email me a company profile, capability statement, and then we will set up one-on-one meetings. We'll learn where you're at in your process of business and hopefully introduce you, because we do a lot of outreach services for people where we're, projects. We start, that's always the first started.
Yeah.
Outreach.
Excellent. So everyone, hopefully you got that there. Once again, for more on Anthony Peterson and everything that he and our friends at Crescent Consulting Associates are doing, visit their social media on LinkedIn, their website, and reach out to Anthony, hopefully with your business, get on their database and, take advantage of everything that they offer, which sounds fabulous. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. I want to thank our guest again, Anthony Peterson from
Thank you
Crescent
for having me.
Consulting. Yes, and keep following us on BronxNet TV for more continued coverage. If you're not a member of the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, you can visit us at hispanicchamber.nyc. Once again, that's hispanicchamber.nyc. You can also engage with us on LinkedIn at New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, all spelled out. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Ciao, ciao.